I will start by briefly reviewing the evaluation process for Ms. IACUB. The Commission initiated its evaluation on the 24th of August 2023 by notifying Ms. IACUB by email and asking her to complete and return an ethics questionnaire and the financial declarations required by Law 65. She returned the completed declarations and questionnaire on the 2nd of September 2023. As part of evaluating a subject's ethical and financial integrity, the Commission also obtains information from many other sources, such as the National Integrity Authority, the State Fiscal Service, the General Inspectorate of the Border Police, other public institutions, financial institutions, and open sources. The Commission assesses information it obtains for relevance and reliability. On the 10th of November 2023, the Commission asked Ms. IACUB to provide additional information by the 17th of November to clarify certain matters. After the Commission granted her a one-week extension, she provided answers and documents on the 17th of November 2023. On the 30th of November 2023, the Commission asked Ms. IACUB to provide some additional data and information. She provided answers and documents on the 6th of December 2023. On the 5th of January 2024, we notified Ms. IACUB that the Commission in its investigation had identified some areas of doubt about her compliance with the ethical and financial criteria, and we also invited her to attend today's hearing. On the 15th of January 2024, Ms. IACUB submitted additional supporting documents to the Commission. Ms. IACUB, do you wish to make any corrections or additions to the answers that you have provided to the Commission's request for information?
Yes, in some cases I might come with some addition, especially in relation to what is included in the annex to the notification for the hearing. And additionally, I also identified some errors in what was related in that document received from the Commission. I was thinking somehow to submit it in written, but it remains on the Commission to tell me how to submit this information.
Well, we'll discuss with you this morning the areas of doubt that we identified in the notice of hearing. What I'm asking, though, is in terms of the information you have provided to us, is there any corrections or additional information to that information that you wish to make?
Nothing to add now.
Are the answers that you provided on the ethics questionnaire that you returned on the 2nd of September 2023 still accurate as of today?
Yes.
Okay. Members of the Commission will now ask you additional questions. We'll try to keep our questions short and to the point. Similarly, we ask that you try to keep your answers short and to the point as well. Commission member Lilian Ansu will begin the questions.
Good morning, Madam Irina. As the head of the chair of the Commission was saying, in order to bring some clarifications to a series of issues in your evaluation process, the Commission will ask you a series of questions, and the first block of questions focuses on the financial component. As you have noticed in the questionnaire you have received, there is a series of unclarified elements for the years 2011-2022, in which period, according to your incomes analysis, results that every year you've used an amount that is 50% higher than the official incomes. If it is possible, maybe step by step per every year or as a whole, to come with some clarifications in this regard. Well, in this, I spoke about this issue in the first round of question, if I'm not mistaken, when I mentioned that actually the expenses identified by the Commission are not effectively realized in that reference period were not really conducted at reference period, but were calculated by the Commission based on the methodology of the National Bureau of Statistics. These were some estimates calculated, but not real expenses. And deriving from the structure of these expenses, which were identified and which are expressly provided for in the regulation of the Commission, I have justified in my answers that some elements in this structure were not characteristic for me, meaning that some of them could not absolutely be included. And mostly I refer to the expenses related to food products. If I remember very well, based on the methodology of the National Bureau of Statistics, the living expenses for the food products amount to about 40% of the expenses. I justified in my answers that for the entire reference period, for the food products expenses, I've had the lower expenses, and of course not 42%. Because in that period, my parents and my in-laws are landowners. They have a small family farm, they are growing animals, and we had different products obtained from our parents. And somehow, thanks to this, we were able to have some savings. So the expenses estimated by the Commission seem to me exaggerated, given that from moment to moment they did not take into account that we had these products taken in a natural way. Thank you. And an additional question, secondary question related to the question of the Commission. You mentioned that in some periods of time you lived with your in-laws or parents. Please, let's go in depth in this period of time and to understand in what period and how many people lived in the same house. In the period 2011-2014, I lived with my in-laws. How many members of the family? We were 4 and our in-laws 2. And later on, starting from 2015 till 2022, well, actually 2020, we were renting a place in Chișinău, only us, our family, the 4 members of our family. Thank you. A priority topic is the issue related to the year 2020, when you have purchased a flat in Chișinău. You presented by the power of attorney, you had your mother. You presented the power of attorney, your mother. And from the calculation of the Commission, the family of your parents wouldn't have enough means to buy this flat. The Commission has went through the explanations you submitted and the mathematical justification, but please let's come back to this subject for clarification. Please let us know how it was possible to purchase this flat in view of lacking this financial means factually, and why only 3 months after that it was decided to donate this flat to you. Yes, the flat was bought in 2020 in very quite difficult circumstances for my family. There was a period when we separated from my husband, so we left with my children with no house. At the beginning, we started to look for some place to rent, but we actually understood, or I was aware actually from the beginning, that I will not be able to cope alone with all the expenses that were to be incurred. This is why I decided, I took the risk to borrow the necessary amount of money in order to buy this flat. Therefore, the highest amount was borrowed from my sister, where it was not me but my parents, and I will explain why. The parents have, the cost of the flat is 25,000 euro. The parents took from my sister 15,000, and the parents had some savings amounting to 5,000, which they gave to me. My mother has borrowed from other relatives 2,000 euro more, and I have borrowed 3,000 euro, 2 from the bank and 1 from a friend. And this is how I gathered all the amount for the flat, and I was able to buy it. As about the sources for my parents to give me this money, or for the sister, as about the sister, as I said in my answers, she's been working since 2015 abroad. It's been already, and in a period of 5 years, she was able to have this amount of 15,000 euro. So she borrowed this money to me. The parents were able to have those savings amounting to 5,000 euro from the financial support during those received during the 5 years by from my sister. Sorry. And as about the loan from my sister, I have a notice that was signed by my sister and my mother. The loans that I took were proven, I believe, by the data from the bank and eventually bank transfers. I was not able to present the Commission only some evidence related to that loan of 2,000 euro that my mother took, because it was like a verbal agreement. I don't know, maybe I have omitted something. So, yes, okay, we will go through the subjects step by step. Next, one of the sources for covering the amount for the apartment is your sister, Silvia Corciumariuc. According to your affirmations, Commission has examined the data from the Register of the Border Police. Madam Corciumariuc is going abroad for a quite short period of time, either 3 or 6 months, which from the point of view of the Commission entails that she has not a stable and permanent workplace. And at the same time, in the investigation, the Commission had identified that Madam Corciumariuc in 2016 had as a taxable income in Moldova only about 60,000 lei. No other incomes being identified as taxable incomes in Moldova. The same situation is with her husband. There is no taxable incomes in that reference period, and no other information about the border crossing point in relation to her husband. If you could specify about the type of work of Madame Corciumariuc, and if from point of view it was possible in the period 2017-2020 for her to have such an amount available of 15,000 euro in such conditions. Please, sorry, you have omitted to indicate that I have submitted written evidence documents confirming that in 2017 she won more than 12,000 euro in Germany. So she earned this money. So you said that according to the data from the border police, it was identified that my sister letter was for a short period of time. I don't know what period you speak about, and maybe it's 2016, because specifically in 2016 she has made all her Romanian documents. Before this period, it is possible that she crossed the border or to be abroad only for a short period of time. But after she has obtained those Romanian documents, she is staying just for a short while in the country. Maybe data should be double-checked in the register of the border crossing points, because otherwise, how could we justify that in the 2017, all year around, she had incomes confirmed by documents from Germany? If speaking about 2018-2020, I have explained that in that period she was not officially employed, but still she has worked informally till 2021, when she got employed officially again. As about her husband, no, he did not work abroad. I don't know why the Commission did not identify some incomes in his name, because as far as I know, he is at least a veteran of the war on the Dniester, and also he is a person with disability, second degree or more or less, and he has some allowance, monthly allowances related to his situation.
Despre el nici nu poate fi vorba, adică ceea ce s-a indicat
is indicated in the doubts that I received, the information about the fact that he has now registered income is not correct. This would be all.
Vă mulțumesc pentru
Thank you for the clarifications. The Commission speaks about the border crossing elements between 2018-2019 as reference elements. But yes, we understood your explanations. And from the data of the Customs Service, is it identified that only 3 or 6 months she has been abroad? It cannot be possible, because she usually comes to stay at home just 1 month or 2 every year. Thank you. In your other explanations provided to the Commission, you have explained that this amount of €15,000 was brought to Moldova step by step using the carriers or transport providers. The reason to use such means was described to the Commission, like your sister is working in a community where there is no banking institutions. But at the same time, the Commission has identified in April month 2017 a bank transfer of €500 that you claimed to be meant for your niece. So, could you explain the reason when, if this bank transfer method is available, then why did you resort to using the transportation, physical transportation of these amounts? Now, I am wondering if the Commission has studied the answers of my sister, because she has given some details, and from what you are asking, I understand they did not study. But yes, but the Secretariat has confirmed they received the document. Okay, still, from what I know, I can come with some explanations. I said that in her community there were no bank institutions, there are no banks. But on the other hand, I want to give some details in some aspects, because they are important. My sister is not quite very well aware of or does not know very well the German language. This is why she avoids at maximum to go out and communicate. So if there is a possibility for her to find someone to accompany her, then she could go and do some things that she might need.
Dânsa în principiu locuiește la
But basically, she is
angajator.
living with
Ea
her
are grijă de
employer.
persoane bolnave sau
She is
bătrâni.
taking care of
De aceea
ill
ea
people or elderly
evită
people.
circulația
This is why she's trying to avoid
cât mai mult posibil.
moving as more as
Pe de
possible.
altă parte,
On the other hand,
am concretizat în răspunsurile
I
mele că
have
de obicei
mentioned
dânsa
in my
transmis
answer
banii
that
acasă prin
usually she
transportatorul
used
de
to
colete.
send the money at home by
De ce a
the
făcut-o? De ce a recurs la
package
acest
carriers.
mijloc? Deoarece
Why did she
dânsa
use this
periodic,
means? Because
nu
she
știu, odată la 2 ori, la
regularly,
3 luni,
once in 2 or 3
transmitea și
months,
continuă să
she used to
transmită
send
la,
and
să transmită
still
la copii
is
și
sending
la părinți
to her
colete.
children
De
and
aceea
parents
este
different
mult mai
packages.
convenabil să transmită
This
și
is why
bani,
it's much more
pentru a nu se
convenient for her to
complica
send
cu
also the
alte,
money in order to avoid more
eu știu,
complications,
pierdere de timp sau
like losing time or
dificultăți
difficulties
de a se adresa la bancă.
when
Plus
going to
facturi
the
și cheltuieli
bank.
suplimentare.
And plus, this incurs
Deci,
some
cred că
additional
ăsta a fost
procedures
motivul
and
pentru
expenses.
care dânsa
This
a
is
ales
why
anume
she
mijlocul ăsta de a
chose
transmite bani
to
acasă.
send money in this way.
Vă mulțumesc.
Thank you.
Totodată, împrumutul
At
de
the same time,
15.000
this loan of
de euro pare a
15,000
fi
euro
necondiționat
seems
și
to
pe o
be
perioadă
without any
nedeterminată.
conditions and on
Care
an
au fost
unlimited
condițiile
period.
acordării
What were the
acestui
conditions
împrumut?
for this loan?
Eu nu știu dacă pare atât de straniu să
Maybe
acorzi împrumut
I think it's not that
necondiționat
strange to
sorodului sau fratului
give such a loan without conditions to your sister or brother.
Dar condiția principală
But the
pe
main
care am pus-o cel
condition
puțin
that
noi, la care am
we
convenit
stated,
noi cu
the
sora,
ones that
a fost
we agreed
că,
upon,
în curând
was that
copiii mei deja
not long after that, my children will be able to get a job and have their own incomes, and this is why I promised that starting the moment they get a job and I have less expenses, I will be able to gather and pay back the debt. Otherwise, or in the worst scenario, if this doesn't happen, then probably I will go to work abroad.
În același context,
In the same
din
context,
explicațiile pe
based
care le-ați
on the
oferit
explanations that
comisiei,
you
sora
have given to the
dumneavoastră,
Commission, your
pe de o
sister,
parte a avut
on one
suficiente
hand,
mijloace
she had
financiare,
enough
dar și
financial
sarcina
means, but
morală și
also
socială
the
de a-și susține
moral
în
and
mod
social
regulat
burden to
părinții,
support regularly her parents,
de a vă oferi în mod regulat
to
sprijin,
offer you
inclusiv
in a
prin
regular way her support,
financiar din
inclusively
anul 2021
financial support
pentru
starting
rambursarea
2021,
a două
to
credite
pay back
în
two
mărime de 41.000
loans
lei și altul
for
în mărime de 1.000 de
41,000
euro.
lei and one for 1,000
Totodată
euro.
dânsa
At the same
are
time,
doi copii și
she has
4
two
nepoți.
children and 4
Ar fi
nephews,
posibil
grandchildren,
ca
sorry.
dumneei, având o
Would it
suprasarcină
be
economică atât de mare,
possible for her,
decide
having
totuși
such
să
a
vă
high economic burden, to
susțină, să vă
decide
ajute pe
to
acești
support
15.000
you
euro?
and give you these 15,000 euros?
Păi, cer scuze, ați început
I
cu
apologize.
rambursarea creditului
You
bancar
started
și
with
ați
the
ajuns la
bank
15.000
credit
de euro
for
la
the bank,
economiile
and
făcute de
you
dânsa.
came
Mai
back
întâi, la
to
rambursarea
the
creditului bancar,
15,000
da, am convenit. Dânsa
savings.
din 2021 am precizat,
In,
este
as I
angajată
mentioned,
deja oficial.
since
De aceea,
2021,
în
she
perioada
is
aceea,
working
i-am,
legally,
am convenit cu ea să
and this is
nu
why I agreed with
cumva să mă ajute
her
să restitui băncii
that she would
creditul,
help me
întrucât,
pay back the
se primea
credit,
că dacă
because
aș fi respectat și aș fi restituit
if I had
în
paid
ratele
back
stabilite de bancă,
the
s-ar fi
installments
acumulat, practic, o sumă
from the
dublă.
bank,
De aceea am
I
convenit
would
cu
have paid
dumneei
a
să
double
mă
amount.
ajute
This is why I agreed with
să,
her that she would help me
rambursez anticipat creditul.
so that I would pay back the loan
Referitor
in
la susținerea
advance.
financiară acordată
Regarding the
copiilor
financial
ei și
support for
posibilitatea ei
her
de a
children and
acumula
her
economii
possibility
de
to
15.000 de euro,
save these
vreau să zic
15,000
că
euros,
piciorul ei
I would like to
tot,
say that her boy, her son, is also working in Germany. He has his own income. Only her daughter is officially working in our country, in the locality where she is living.
Din câte cunosc, ea a
From
susținut
what I
mai
know,
mult cu produse, cu
she supported them mostly with food. I don't know about her giving them money. Maybe on some occasions, she told me that mostly on their birthdays, she gave them money. Regarding my parents, she supported our parents regularly because my father is bedridden. This is why this financial support was meant to compensate for our physical lack, the fact that we are not physically there and not helping physically. This is why we agreed. And in the doubts transmitted by the Commission, I said that she also supported me financially. And I think that in the responses, I denied this because I didn't dare to ask for myself. I took care of my problems, and I was just grateful for the fact that she managed to support our parents. So this was it. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mrs. Irina IACUB. Just some questions about apartment and CEP methodology. But first of all, about the apartment. I still don't understand. Could you please shortly say, you were from the very beginning the real beneficiary of apartment. Do you agree?
The apartment was purchased by my parents. I didn't buy it.
Please answer to my question. Do you agree? Yes or no? Then we can continue.
Din start, nu.
No, from the beginning, no. So I became owner 3 months after the apartment was purchased.
Okay, next question. You represented your parents through power of attorney. Do you agree?
Da.
Yes.
Very good. The next question. Your family donated the apartment and yes, 3 months later you acquired the apartment. It's correct. But the 5th of January 2021, this is the day of the purchase of the apartment. 12th of October 22, you signed 22. You signed the contract of service provider Molt Telecom. Is it correct?
Exact.
Exactly. And it was time when you already was beneficiary of the apartment.
Da.
Yes, after signing the sales contract, I was the owner of the apartment so I used the apartment from the second day because the parents bought it for me.
Okay. But, and now the final question, why it was necessary to hide you as beneficiary?
De ce? Nu m-am ascuns deloc.
I did not hide. The idea was that as a legal expert, I knew that once I would purchase something on my name, by default, my ex-husband, whom I separated from, would become a co-owner, so that in order to avoid splitting the properties with my husband, we decided that we would solve this from the start and avoid some useless issues.
Okay. Next group of questions. Do I understand correctly that you are disputing the CEP methodology itself?
Not that I am disputing it. I did not understand how you fill this in. You mean that I don't acknowledge the estimated expenses as an indicator for the unexplainable wealth?
Eu pur și simplu când am verificat
Just that
datele,
when I
iată,
checked the
cifrele,
data, the
sumele
figures, the
identificate de
amounts
comisie, am
identified
verificat
by the
cu datele
Commission,
de pe site ale,
I checked
Biroului
the
Național de
data from the
Statistică și
site of
ceva
the National Bureau of
nu-
Statistics,
calculele mele nu
and
coincideau cu
my
calculele
calculations
comisiei. De
were
aceea și am
not the
ridicat
same as the
întrebarea.
calculations of
Pentru
the
că
Commission.
în,
This is why I raised this question, because
întrebările parvenite de la
in the
comisie
questions
nu
from
era
the
indicat
Commission,
cifra luată în considerare la
the
efectuarea
figure that
calculelor.
was
Doar
taken into
formule și
consideration
doar,
for
iată,
the
special
calculations
trimitere
were
la
not indicated,
metodologia
only the formals
Biroului Național de
and
Statistică.
this reference to the methodology of the NBS.
You mentioned the food product. Yeah. Do you agree?
Da, consider că în
Yes,
structura
I consider
cheltuielilor
that
mele
in
pentru
the
toată
structure of my
perioada nu
expenses
pot
for the
fi,
full period,
nu se pot include
we
doar
cannot
cheltuielile
include
pentru produse în valoare
only
de 42%.
the expenses for food in the amount of 42%. People here know how people live in the countryside. They grow their own products. So I don't purchase these food items, not even now. This is why I don't agree with this, because this is in the structure of the expenses. And they will also have holidays. I don't think I have time now to look in the regulation, but some items that I never afforded because my income is not enough to cover such expenses.
And maybe could you tell us how many % less do you think you spend on food?
Dar eu am explicat, pare mi se, în răspuns.
Explained, I think, in my responses, I think that the living expenses calculated by the Commission should be accepted in half. Because to be honest, since I have an income of, let's say, 5,000 lei, I cannot afford to spend 10,000 lei that is estimated by the state, by the NBS. And if I'm in such a situation, what should I do to comply with these expenses? Should I get a loan and live off these loans? For me, it's not logical. In these cases, I need to save and to fit in the incomes that I have. And even now, I can say that we are all in this. So I am in this situation. I have incomes that are less than the costs calculated by the National Bureau of Statistics, given the fact that I'm raising my children alone. And I work officially, I have 2 jobs officially.
Thank you. No more questions from my side.
Yes, Ms. Cernini.
Good morning, Mrs. IACUB. I go back to the issue of the period 2011-2014 when your family was living with the parents-in-law. Did your family, you, your husband, and you had the 2 kids immediately in the 2 following years, living with the family-in-law since the beginning of, since the wedding?
No,
I got married in 2004. We used to rent a place. At that time, my husband was working officially. Then he gave up his job, and since then we lived with our in-laws until 2015.
Can you give us more detail about your living together? Your in-law house, how big it is? Was it divided into autonomous part, the 2 families having separated living, or you were live as a unique family, having lunch all together, managing the house all together?
Deci mâncam împreună, logic.
Yes, we used to have our meals together, but we were living together because they have a house and an annex. We were living in the house in one room. The house had 3 rooms and 1 corridor. We used to occupy one that was better heated, and our in-laws in the same yard, but in the second building. But the household was somehow together.
And you said that your in-law had have a small farm. Can you describe better what were they cultivating, if they had animals, which kind of animals, how many animals?
Da, aveau animale.
Yes, they had animals. 2-3 cows. They had this number since I knew them until 2018-19. At that point, they gave up because they are quite old, and my in-law, my father-in-law, passed away. They had pigs, poultry. Regarding the lands, these were agricultural land. I don't know the surface. I never checked, so I didn't see any documents. They had some vineyards and peach orchard. They used to grow fruit and vegetables or grain. It was different every year. In that period, I didn't work for most of the period, and I helped them because they did not. They worked the land themselves. They didn't give it for rent.
And in that period, where are you working? You just said that you were not working in that period. 2011-2014, or
Nu, am fost casnică.
Yes, I was a housewife. I tried to get a job in 2011. I worked only for a small period. And then, starting 2012, I started working in the Penal Science and Applied Criminology Institute because my children were not that young anymore, and then I decided to get a job according to my profession.
Thank you. Few questions about your sister. Also based on her answer. At the beginning, was she working unofficially because her documents were not yet regular?
For
the first time, she got a job, from what I know, to an elderly house, private one, and there she cared for 4 elder persons who were, so she was living together with the owners. So she got a job there. But because she didn't have the documents, she could not be employed officially. I think that at some point, given the fact that they refused to do this paperwork for her, she resigned and she moved to Berlin. I think that starting 2017, she started working in Berlin, and when the lady that she was taking care of passed away, she was asked to come back to her former employer. She went back because they promised they would hire her officially. This didn't happen, then 2 years later she also left. So she was taking care of 4 persons and she was paid less than the standard. And this is why the employer tried to persuade her to come back, and they said they would do the paperwork. As I said, she has issues speaking the language. She doesn't know it to this day. And the lady who tried to persuade her to come back is a Russian citizen, so there they would speak Russian, and this is why she came back. But she resigned in 2021, and then she started working legally.
The whole period she was a caretaking. She was taking care of elder. This was her main activity.
Alt muncă nu a avut.
Yes, she did not have any other job.
Yes, Mr. Gaskin.
Doamna Iacob.
Madam IACUB, let's have a short review on the flat. You mentioned that the financial source for this flat was the money borrowed by your parents from your sister, the loan of the parents, and your loan from the bank and from natural person. You registered it on the name of the parents due to a family reason. In 2012 or 2020, what was the full amount of your doubt to your parents, to your sister, to other natural persons? So after the purchase, yes. So in 2020, the amount was 15,000. So this was the debt that I had assumed to pay back to my sister instead of my parents. But starting 2021, when my sister helped me pay back the 3,000 euros that I took, then my debt was 18,000. So in 2021, your sister donated to you 3,000 more. No, she didn't donate, she gave me. Yes. So the total debt at the end of 2021 was 18,000. Yes. I'm asking because the Commission needs to have accurate calculations for each year and to have a correct estimate for your incomes and expenses. At the end of 2022, what was the total debt that you had to your sister? I haven't given back anything up to now, so it's still 18,000. Yes, because I told you what the condition was. In your declaration of assets and personal interests to the Commission, you don't have this data on the debt to your sister for 2021, 2022. Can you explain why you didn't mention this? That because de facto, actually de jure, according to the receipt to the Commission, the debt was taken, so the loan was taken by my parents. So, from a legal point of view, your parents are the ones who are in debt. But yes, I understand that they cannot pay back this money. I understand. The next question is related to the living expenses. You mentioned that you don't agree with the 42% of the living expenses that were calculated by the Commission, but you would accept 50%, correct? Yes, I think that 50% would be okay. The rest of the expenses, of the living expenses, of the National Bureau of Statistics, do you accept them like healthcare, expensive, recreational? No, recreational, no. So everything related, so everything that is not strictly necessary, this is up to the person. If they want, they do have these expenses. If not, they don't. Since I didn't have enough incomes, I could not afford this.
Then it results that you believe that the Commission has overestimated these consumption expenses by 20-30% of them, maybe even more. Could you elaborate more on this? For example, you said for the food products like 50% you accept out of this calculation. That, minus 20%. That for the other consumption expenses. So what is the structure for my living expenses according to the National Bureau of Statistics? Food products and beverages. It's like 42%. Food and tobacco, it's clear that I do not use. Clothes and shoes, it remains. Household utilities and gas. Yes, we have this, but we need to think that for the period I stayed with the in-laws, I didn't have such expenses. But already when in 2015 we started to rent a place in the city, I have explained that these expenses were covered exclusively by my husband. So from the incomes that he had unofficially. Next, furniture, appliances and their maintenance. Unfortunately or not, as I stayed with the in-laws, I didn't have such expenses. When moving to the city, we had the place with furniture already, and we didn't have such expenditures. And when purchased the flat, we already had it endowed, so we did not have expenses for that. As about for health, yes, we can keep it. Transportation, communications, but yes, but education and culture, no. Education, and especially in the period when my children were at the point when studying in a primary school and secondary school, so especially in that reference period, we did not have expenses for the education. Restaurants and hotels, categorical no. Different services, here we might think about what services we might include. Well, I believe that we need to have this in a customized manner. Thank you. No more questions?
Do any of the other commission members have additional questions? Seeing that there are no additional questions, Ms. IACUB, do you have anything you would like to say further in terms of a closing statement?
Yes, I'd like, but first of all, I would like to have clarification if I also have the right to ask some questions to the Commission. No. Okay. In that case, I would like to understand if I could ask a question in written after the hearing in order to have some clarifications that I identify in the issues identified from the Commission's document.
Well, pardon me. Oh, yeah, you want to submit something in writing to us, is that what you're asking? If you wish to do that.
Yeah. Yes, if it's possible now, during the hearing would be very welcome, but no, if no, later on I would like to ask you something in written because I have some unclarities, and I suppose that if we clarify this, we might have more objective results in the assessment.
Well, if you wish to submit something in writing, you're welcome to do that. If you have a question about something we ask you today, if you feel like you did not understand a question, you're welcome to tell us that now, and we'll try to rephrase the question. We want to make sure that you understood our questions and that you've answered them.
Da, eu întrebările le-am înțeles.
Yes, I understood the questions, but I have myself some questions in relation to the way my answers were interpreted. And also in order to clarify some aspects, I would like just to focus on a single issue that I didn't understand for the moment. Only one now, if it's possible. The rest I would like to ask in written. Can I ask this now? So, according to the regulation of the Evaluation Commission, the equation used for the calculation of the inexplicable wealth was taken from the case law of the European Court of Human Rights, and it includes 4 elements or 4 facts like are identified there. In the regulation, these are listed or numbered by letters, A, B, C, and D. This is where they're listed. So all these elements, according to the formula expressed itself, should be taken into account in order to identify the inexplicable wealth. Now, I would like to ask the Commission, is it possible to identify the existence of this inexplicable wealth if some of these elements are negative, they do not exist? The Commission has not identified any of this in my wealth. They did not identify these elements. Is it possible, due to their lack, to conclude that there is this inexplicable wealth? Maybe to give an example for clarification. One of the elements in the equation referred to the balance of the cash saving at the end of this calendar year. Therefore, if this balance does not exist, the Commission could have or make a correct conclusion that the wealth is inexplicable.
Well, Ms. IACUB, the questions that we posed to you explained how we calculated inexplicable wealth, and that was done consistent with the rules that we've adopted. If you wish to make additional clarifications to the answers you provided, or if, as we said, if you wish to submit in writing some questions to the Commission, you're welcome to do so. But how we calculated the inexplicable wealth for purposes of the notice of hearing and the questions we ask you, that was set forth in the questions.
Exact.
Exactly. Well, but I take the right to ask the question in written.
Do you have anything else you wish to say by way of a closing statement?
Just thank you for your work, and I really hope that the result would be the most correct and objective possible.
That then brings us to the end of today's hearing. Ms. IACUB, thank you for your submissions and your answers to the Commission's questions. After our hearing, the Commission will approve an evaluation report stating its conclusion whether the subject meets the criteria for ethical and financial integrity under Law 65. The Commission will strive to complete its evaluation report and announce its conclusion as soon as possible. Generally seeks to do so within a month after a subject's public hearing. This hearing is now closed. Good morning.